Hare Krishna. Anchita, Rishi, thank you for joining. Today we'll start with the nectar of instruction for the Bhakti Shastri class. And nectar of instruction is in Sanskrit, and I welcome all those who joined online as well. So the nectar of instruction is a small book that consists of 11 verses that was written or composed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and he is a very major and pivotal figure in our sampradaya. He was especially favored by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many times it is mentioned how Mahaprabhu was surprised at how Rupa Goswami was able to understand the innermost feelings of his heart. And Swarup Damodar told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, how does Rupa Goswami know what is there in my heart? Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, because he's especially having your mercy, a special mercy, that's how he knows. And that's why we, in the Mangalacharan prayer, we say, Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam. Abhishtam means the desire, Mana means the heart or the mind. How he knows the innermost mind of Sri Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam, Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. And he has established that heart and the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this world. Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. So we are going to clutch, we are going to beg in our Guru Parampara, especially starting with our own Guru and Srila Prabhupada, but we beg at the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami to give us some mercy and blessings so that we can understand what is devotional service to Krishna. And the pinnacle of devotion is the love of Godhead, which is a very esoteric topic. It's not easily understandable or discernible or even be able to put it in words. But Sri Rupa Goswami did it in his magnum opus called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is the nectar of devotion, which we will do in semester 4. But for now, we will go through these 11 verses of Upadeshamrita that are, even though the book is small, it is so much of information that is mentioned there. It is mentioned that Rupa Goswami wrote so many books and composed hundreds of thousands of verses, but the essence of all that wisdom is given in these 11 verses. So from that perspective, though it is just 11 verses, but they are very powerful and practical, and we will get to the practicality aspect of it as well. And from practical to highest esoteric goals, Rupa Goswami has been able to cover in these 11 verses. Before we start, usually for every semester, before I do the Bhakti or Upadeshamrita, I would like to sing this bhajan that is written by Narottam Das Thakur, praising Srila Rupa Goswami. And if you can just show it on the screen, please. So, if we can come down, we'll do the translation first, and then we can Hare Krishna Manjari. You can do like 3, and then Anchita can go 3.
The lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari are my treasure, my devotional service, and my object of worship. They give my life meaning, and they are the life of my life. They are the perfection of rasa, and they are perfection worthy of attainment. They are the very law of the Vedic scriptures for me.
They are the meaning of all my fasts and penances, and my silent utterings of my mantras. They are the basis of religion and activities. By the purifying process of favorable devotional service, one will attain perfection, and with these two eyes be able to see. His transcendental form is shining like moonlight in my heart, and my heart therefore shines and reciprocates. In other words, the ordinary moon lights up the night, and its shine illuminates other objects, but the moon of the effulgence of the form of Sri Rupa Manjari shines into the heart and makes the heart also shine back into the spiritual sky. This moon shines not only in the night time, but day and night.
Thank you. Anybody online wants to complete last two, please?
Can I go, Prabhu?
Please.
Your absence from my vision is like a dose of strong poison, and I will suffer till end of my life. Narottam Das Thakur says, please give me your mercy and the shade of your lotus feet.
Thank you. So it's going to be call and repeat, and then we can do Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Shei Moro Sampada Shei Mora Bhajan Pujana Shri Rupa Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Shei Mora Sampada Shei Moro Bhajan Pujana Shei Moro Pranadhana Shei Moro Abharana Shei Moro Jiva Nirjivana Shei Moro Rashanidhi Shei Moro Mancho Siddhi Shei Moro Vederadharama Shei Vrata Shei Tapa Shei Moro Mantra Japa Shei Moro Dharma Karama Anukula habe vidhi shei pode hoibe siddhi nirakhibo e dui nayane Shei Rupa Madhuri Rashi Prana Kuvalaya Shashi Prapulita Habe Nishidine Shei Rupa Madhuri Rashi Prana Kuvalaya Shashi Prafulita Have Nishidine To aya darshana ahi gara le jarolo dehi Chirodina tapita jivana हा रूपा करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया नरोत्तम लइल शरण। हा रूपा करो दया देह मोरे पद छाया नरोत्तम लइल शरण। हा रूपा करो दया देह मोरे पद छाया नरोत्तम लइल शरण। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री रूप मंजरी पद श्री मोर संपद श्री मोर श्री रूप मंजरी पद श्री मोर संपद श्री मोर गाना। हरे कृष्ण। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं त्वं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभयश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने। Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Adadanastrunam Dantair Idam Yache Punah Punah Srimad Rupa Padam Bhojo Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Rajoham Syam Bhave Bhave. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you. Welcome, Nitai. All right. So today we will do the nectar of instruction. I was planning to spend time going through all the verses, but in the interest of time, we will just go ahead and start with the preface and verses, and probably in the next class we can do all the verses. So, Srila Prabhupada in the preface, he mentions that our parampara or Krishna consciousness movement is done under the guidance of Rupa Goswami. Now, the reason why Rupa Goswami is mentioned as the primary one is because he was foundational in establishing the Rasa Tattva. He is the Rasa Acharya. And our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is our reason for existence is love of Godhead of Krishna, of which Rupa Goswami was an Acharya. And he mentions that if we want to understand Radha Krishna, then we have to understand the teachings of the 6 Goswamis. It's Srila Prabhupada writes, Rupa Raghunatha Pade, Hoi Beyakuti, Kobe Hama Puja Bose, Yogala Piriti. And if you go down a little bit, so he says that, please continue to go all the way down. He says that why he has given us Upadeshamrita, or what is the purpose. It's mentioned Sri Rupa Goswami was the leader of all the Goswamis, and to guide our activities, he has given us this Upadesha Amrita, the nectar of instruction to follow. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left behind him the 8 verses known as Siksashtaka, Rupa Goswami gave us Upadesha Amrita so that we may become pure Vaishnavas. And in the next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada says that everybody is engrossed in the mode of passion and ignorance, and how to become pure Vaishnavas is what is mentioned here. One of the things that Srila Prabhupada writes here is that one must promote himself to the platform of goodness or sattva guna by following the instructions of Rupa Goswami. Then everything concerning how to make further progress will be revealed. So it's a very nice way of putting it. It is not that you have do-it-yourself manual at every step, but rather if we kind of start following the instructions, then everything will be revealed. One of the most important points that is mentioned in the preface, and we can take it home today, is advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. Now, the word attitude can actually have a very negative effect. That line is so important. Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of follower. The attitude, as I mentioned, can have a negative consequence or a negative connotation. Oh, you have such an attitude. But the attitude actually here that is mentioned is one's own submissiveness and one's own reactions to this world. The attitude is shown by that fact. What happens in the world is not in our control, but how we react to it is within, and that shows the attitude. So this is some really important thing. Srila Prabhupada also stresses on Goswami and Godas, but I will go through quickly on the preface. If you come down a little bit more, please. The last statement where it's mentioned, Upadeshamrita constitutes the first instructions for a neophyte devotee. One should follow these instructions very strictly, then it will be easier to make one's life successful. And Srila Prabhupada signs off on September 20th, 1975 in Vrindavan, India. All right. So we go to the next verse of the text one. So kindly repeat after me. Now have the mic steady and I can ask you to do the translation and the purports and so on and so forth. Okay. Text 1. Kindly repeat after me. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam. Jivha vegam udaropasta vegam. Etan vegan yo vishaheta dhiraha. Sarvam api mam prithvim sasishyad. Translation, please.
A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Purport, first paragraph, please.
Purport. In Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.9 to 10, Parikshit Maharaj placed a number of intelligent questions before Shukadev Goswami. One of the questions was, why do people undergo atonement if they cannot control their senses? For instance, a thief may know perfectly well that he may be arrested for his stealing, and he may actually even see a thief arrested by the police. Yet he continues to steal. Experience is gathered by hearing and seeing. One who is less intelligent gathers experience by seeing, and one who is more intelligent gathers experience by hearing. When an intelligent person hears from the law books and shastras or scriptures that stealing is not good and hears that a thief is punished when arrested, he refrains from theft. A less intelligent person may first have to be arrested and punished for stealing to learn to stop stealing. However, a rascal, a foolish man, may have the experience of both hearing and seeing and may even be punished, but still he continues to steal. Even if such a person atones and is punished by the government, he will again commit theft as soon as he comes out of jail. If punishment in jail is considered atonement, what is the benefit of such atonement? Thus Parikshit Maharaj inquired.
Thank you. We will, okay, let's complete that. Drishtashrutabhyam yat papam.
Drishtashrutabhyam yat papam.
Janan apyatmano hitam.
Janan apyatmano hitam.
Karoti bhuyo vivashaha.
Karoti bhuyo vivashaha.
Prayaschittam athokatam.
Prayaschittam athokatham.
Kvachin nivartate bhadrat.
Vachin nivartate bhadrat.
Kvachicharati tat punaha.
Vachicharati tat punaha.
Prayaschittam atho partham.
Prayaschittam atho partham.
Manye kunjara shauchavat.
Manye kunjara shauchavat. He compared atonement to an elephant's bathing. The elephant may take a very nice bath in river, but as soon as it comes onto the bank, it throws dirt all over its body. What then is the value of its bathing? Similarly, many spiritual practitioners chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and at the same time commit many forbidden things, thinking that their chanting will counteract their offenses. Of the 10 types of offenses one can commit while chanting the holy name of the Lord, this offense is called Namno Balad Yasyahi Papa Buddhi, committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Similarly, certain Christians go to church to confess their sins, thinking that confessing their sins before a priest and performing some penance will relieve them from the results of their weekly sins. As soon as Saturday is over and Sunday comes, they again begin their sinful activities, expecting to be forgiven the next Saturday. This kind of prayashchitta or atonement is condemned by Parikshit Maharaj, the most intelligent king of his time. Shukadev Goswami, equally intelligent as befitting the spiritual master of Maharaj Parikshit, answered the king and confirmed that his statement concerning atonement was correct. A sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity. Thus, real prayaschitta, atonement, is awakening of our dormant Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. So Srila Prabhupada actually starts off with a whole other tangent. He starts with, the text says Vacho Vegam Manasakroda Vegam, and to control the 6 urges. But Prabhupada starts off a very different tangent. And the tangent is he has already established, or the fact that it is impossible to control these. And he uses the word vivashaha, which means a person who helplessly commits sinful activity. So he's established the fact that these things happen. Or a conditioned soul cannot easily control the mind overnight, because it seems pretty daunting to control these 6 urges straight away. It's like one verse, oh, control all these 6 urges. That's it's a tremendous amount of work that needs to control the senses. And then he says, one of the persons might say, a guru or even a disciple might say, no, let me commit some sins, but then, I will atone it somehow or other. I did something bad, let me do something to counteract it. And Prabhupada says that might not help, because he establishes even before he starts the purport that sins happen, and if the sins happen, counteracting them through atonement is a bad idea, or not a good idea, not an effective idea, because you atone, but the desire still remains, and so it kind of sprouts up. If you chop off a tree without pulling the roots, will the tree come back? Of course it comes back, because the roots are firmly situated in the ground. The same thing is mentioned here. And the last portion he mentions is the real attainment is Krishna consciousness, or awakening of our dormant Krishna consciousness. Before we go, I would like to do the purport. We'll okay, next paragraph, please. You can do it, or Nitai can do it. And you can do it, and then Nitai can take next, and then Anchita can go.
Real atonement involves coming to real knowledge, and for this there is a standard process. When one follows a regulated, hygienic process, he does not fall sick. A human being is meant to be trained according to certain principles to revive his original knowledge. Such a methodical life is described as tapasya. One can be gradually elevated to the standard of real knowledge or Krishna consciousness by practicing austerity and celibacy, brahmacharya, by controlling the mind, by controlling the senses, by giving up one's possessions in charity, by being avowedly truthful, by keeping clean and practicing yoga asanas. However, if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by the mystic yoga process simply by following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness, refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, and by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. This easy process is being recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami.
Thank you. So, in Bhagavad Gita, when we do in the next semester, we'll do the Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 6, actually, Krishna mentions the process of dhyana yoga, where one controls one's mind, one is strict celibacy, and all those that Srila Prabhupada mentions here, controlling the mind, controlling the senses, giving up one's possession in charity, and practicing the yoga asanas. All these activities are meant to help one control the mind. But in this age of Kali Yuga, it is next to impossible to adopt these practices to control the mind. So that is the hard way to control the mind. The easy way, Srila Prabhupada writes, is to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Here, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning 2 things. One thing is the qualities of a disciple, So no, two things he's mentioning. One thing is that if you are seeking a spiritual master, then you have to go back to see who is a spiritual master. Because the spiritual master has to control his 6 urges, or her 6 urges. And the person who is a disciple should go to such a spiritual master and expect the same thing. Because my goal, so right now, I'll take example of Nitai. Don't mind. So Nitai is saying, I want to be a Goswami. Pun intended. Because his surname is Goswami. But Prabhupada writes that a Goswami is one who strictly controls his 6 senses. Now, I want to be a Goswami, which means that I need to go to a spiritual master who himself or herself is a Goswami or Goswamini. Correct? Otherwise, what do I get out of it? Alternatively, I have to do this controlling of mind, practicing celibacy, and do all those. That seems impossible. And now, but I need to kind of advance in Krishna consciousness. So it's a twofold thing Prabhupada is saying, for the disciple and for the spiritual master as well. Because the text is not about disciple, correct? The text is about spiritual master. Thank you. So the same thing is being mentioned. Makes sense? Am I making sense? Right? Hold on to those questions. We will come and we will take it. Because we haven't even started the main subject yet, which is controlling of the 6 urges. So, one of the things I want to mention is that the controlling of 6 urges, Srila Prabhupada makes not just control, but he is giving an alternative or a positive way to control it. And that is what we will focus on. And that will be our takeaway. Fair? So, as we read the next 6 paragraphs, we will see what is the positive way to kind of control the senses. All right, with that, Nitai, you can go next, Anchita. Next paragraph.
First, one must control his speaking power. Every one of us has the power of speech. As soon as we get an opportunity, we begin to speak. If we do not speak about Krishna consciousness, we speak about all sorts of nonsense. A toad in a field speaks by croaking, and similarly, everyone who has a tongue wants to speak, even if all he has to say is nonsense. The croaking of the toad, however, simply invites the snake. Please come here and eat me. Nevertheless, although it is inviting death, the toad goes on croaking. The talking of materialistic men and impersonalist Mayavadi philosophers may be compared to the croaking of frogs. They are always speaking nonsense and thus inviting death to catch them. Controlling speech, however, does not mean self-imposed silence, the external process of mona. As Mayavadi philosophers think, silence may appear helpful for some time, but ultimately it proves a failure. The meaning of controlled speech conveyed by Srila Rupa Goswami advocates the positive process of Krishna Katha, engaging the speaking process and glorifying the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. The tongue can thus glorify the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. The preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death. This is the significance of controlling the urge to speak.
Excellent. So, what is the positive aspect of controlling the speech? Just be silent. Sorry? Yes, thank you. So every control is actually being replaced by something positive. My tongue cannot not speak, then engage it in speaking about topics of Krishna. Every of these things has gradations. For a person who is completely on the platform of beyond material nature and engaged in love of Godhead, their only talks are about Krishna. But for those who are conditioned, there could be some leeway. For example, our genius from Caltech, Pranav, goes to office and he says, and his boss says, like, what is the status of the project, then he says Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then he quotes Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Let's discuss topics of Krishna. While that is true, it is really nice, but it might not be understood in the same purpose that he is presenting and he is learnt. So having said that, if one's aspiration is always Krishna Katha. Wherever I cannot avoid not about Krishna Katha, then we have to do as an obligation. That is true. I mean, think of million places. Nita is coming back from India, and at the immigration, where are you coming from? Hare Krishna, I'm from Vrindavan. It doesn't work. So there has to be certain amount of practicality, but the aspiration is always Krishna Katha. Wherever I can, I should speak Krishna Katha rather than anything else. Ujjwala Mataji, Hare Krishna. Is that helpful? Yeah. But if one can avoid not speaking about Krishna, then one should avoid. If there is a voluntary way of speaking, then one should. Yeah. There will be a lot of questions we will take as we go along. But next is Vacho Vegam, next is Manasaha, right? So what is Manasaha? Please, Anchita, let's do the next paragraph.
The restlessness or fickleness of the mind is controlled when one can fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. The Chaitanya Charimatra says, Krishna Shurja Shama Maya Hai Andhakar. जहाँ कृष्णा तहाँ नहीं माया अधिकार. कृष्ण सूर्य सम माया है अंधकार. जहाँ कृष्ण तहाँ नहीं माया अधिकार. Please, Anchita, continue. Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya is just like darkness. If the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Similarly, if Krishna is present in the mind, there is no possibility of the mind's being agitated by Maya's influence. The yogic process of negating all material thoughts will not help. To try to create a vacuum in the mind is artificial. The vacuum will not remain. However, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best, one's mind will naturally be controlled. And this is guaranteed in the age of smartphones. You cannot not have, you cannot say, let me empty my mind out of all thoughts. Like some yogic process, actually they say, everything in this world is Maya and illusion. You just need to empty your mind of all material thoughts and your mind will be at peace. But the problem is the mind is naturally seeking something. And if that something is not Krishna, then it is matter. You cannot empty or vacuum out the mind. So fill the mind with Krishna as much as we can. Right? And it's a fact that mind, when it slowly gets absorbed to Krishna, then other things seem rather stale. That is the only way to kind of move ahead. And Krishna says the same thing in Gita. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya paramdrishtva nivartate. That even though one may restrain one's mind from sense objects, but the thoughts of the sense objects still remain in the mind. It cannot go away. But when the thoughts turn toward Krishna, then mind becomes peaceful. And in one paragraph, Prabhupada mentioned it, but it can be lifetimes of work. Because in the nature of the mind is that I have been in this world since time immemorial, and my mind is absorbed in all sorts of
sense objects, one shouldn't get discouraged, which will come to verse number 3. Please remember this, because when we come to verse number 3, it will help. Because one paragraph, it's just attach your mind to Krishna, it will be controlled. But oftentimes it might take some time, because as I said, mind is being in this world. Mind is being in this world since time immemorial, right? Anything else that we want to discuss? Next, let's go to anger. We'll take questions after that. Online, Krishna has come. We can do the anger, and then we can go online. You can read that paragraph.
Similarly, anger can be controlled. We cannot stop anger altogether, but if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotees of the Lord, we control our anger in Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry with the miscreant brothers Jagai and Madai, who blasphemed and struck Nityananda Prabhu. In his Shikshastaka, Lord Chaitanya wrote, Trinad api sunichena tadodapi sahishnunana. One should be humbler than the grass and more tolerant than the tree. One may then ask why the Lord exhibited his anger. The point is that one should be ready to tolerate all insults to one's own self, but when Krishna or his pure devotee is blasphemed, a genuine devotee becomes angry and acts like fire against the offenders. Krodha, anger, cannot be stopped, but it can be applied rightly. It was in anger that Hanuman set fire to Lanka, but he is worshipped as the greatest devotee of Lord Ramachandra. This means that he utilized his anger in the right way. Arjun serves as another example. He was not willing to fight, but Krishna incited his anger. You must fight. To fight without anger is not possible. Anger is controlled, however, when utilized in the service of the Lord.
Thank you. So, completely eliminate anger from your life. Then, get angry against those who blaspheme the Lord and his devotees. So you can see how every time Prabhupada is giving an alternate. He is not just saying that you should completely eliminate anger, because as it's mentioned, 3 examples are mentioned here. One is Mahaprabhu himself, who became angry against Jagai and Madai when they insulted Nityananda Prabhu, or even not insulted, injured Nityananda Prabhu. And the same Lord was very happy. And because I want to contrast it, Mahaprabhu, when he came back from Gaya after doing the Shraddha ceremony for his father, he met Ishvara Puri, and in Gaya he became completely transformed from being an arrogant and implacable scholar to becoming completely a person, a divine person. Of course, he's divine, but completely absorbed in love of Godhead. And when he came back, he started doing kirtans in the house of Srivas Thakur. These kirtans were closed, and all night long they would be completely absorbed in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. The outsiders were not allowed to come, and people started getting initially restless and then later angry. And as Mahaprabhu was walking along the Ganges to take his bath, or just strolling, I don't know the context, a Brahman cursed him, saying that because you don't allow me to come into the house to see your kirtan, may you be bereft of all material enjoyment. He curses him and he snaps his thread and just throws. And Mahaprabhu is very happy, satisfied. He never attacked that Brahmana. So, the example that Srila Prabhupada writes, that when we are insulted then we don't get angry. But when other devotees or great acharyas or the Supreme Lord is blasphemed, then it's the right use of anger as well. Is that helpful? Then 3 examples. One is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Other example? Hanuman. Thank you. Third? Thank you. Please remember. Who knows? You might get an exam. All right. Online, Shyam Chandra Prabhu, you can start and you can just...
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
As for the urges of the tongue, we all experience that the tongue wants to eat palatable dishes. Generally, we should not allow the tongue to eat according to its choice, but should control the tongue by supplying prasada. The devotee's attitude is that he will eat only when Krishna gives him prasada. That is the way to control the urge of the tongue. One should take prasada at scheduled times and should not eat in restaurants or sweetmeat shops simply to satisfy the whims of the tongue or belly. If we stick to the principle of taking only prasada, the urges of the belly and tongue can be controlled. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, Prabhupada, so we completed from Vacho Vegam done, Manasa Vegam done, Krodha is done. Now, Jivha and Udara and Upastha. Jivha means tongue and Udara means belly. So, these two are being discussed here in one shot. There is a slight difference. If eating prasadam only controls both our stomach and our tongue, then why is it two separate are mentioned? And the explanation to that is that the urges of tongue involves the different varieties of prasadam, or the quality or the variety of prasadam, and controlling the belly involves the quantity. So, I want to taste this, I want to taste that. That is the way the tongue talks. And then, but I want to at least have 20 gulab jamuns, otherwise I won't be happy. So that is belly saying, I need this much. So those two are, though it goes through the same line, though it goes through the tongue, there are different urges are there. I'll take the questions. So he has questions, you have questions. So hold on to the questions, I'll take it. While it is, one should not eat in restaurants and sweetmeat shops, there could be times during business or some emergencies where one has to, but one has to be very judicious about it. So one cannot literally starve oneself when you are traveling, for example, or when you are so on and so forth. Just one has to take care of it as well. I mean, I forgot your initiated name. Rishikesh? Govinda, correct? Rishikesh actually is like, he has office has a lunch, you all have to go. Then, they take him to a restaurant, and then he says, you guys are all fools. You should only take prasadam. You're going to hell for this. Forget me eating here. I don't like you guys eating. What nonsense. You can't. So my point here is one has to be judicious. If there is an emergency, one should eat, but don't create an emergency every day. Then the tongue is saying that's where my problem comes. So because we are in this world where it can be that we might be obliged some way or other. For example, I'll give you one more example. You might have to go to a relative's house, and they may not be in the same level of strictness as you do. Obviously, you should draw a line before you go, saying that if we don't eat, for example, meat, fish, eggs, onion, garlic, so on and so forth. So there has to be a boundary, but at the same time, there has to be certain. You get the idea on the social thing. So one has to balance it out as well. Yeah. Then we'll do the last one, and then we'll open up for the questions. Shyam Chandra Prabhu is done.
Rajalata Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In a similar manner, the urges of the gentiles, the sex impulse, can be controlled when not used unnecessarily. The gentiles should be used to beget a Krishna consciousness child, otherwise, they should not be used. The Krishna consciousness movement encourages marriage not for the satisfaction of the genitals but for the begetting of Krishna conscious children. As soon as the children are a little grown up, they are sent to our Gurukula school where they are trained to become fully Krishna consciousness devotees. Many such Krishna consciousness children are required, and one who is capable of bringing forth Krishna consciousness offspring is allowed to utilize his gentles. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So again, you get the idea of how everything can be used in service of the Lord in a positive way. So with that, and if you see the next paragraph, I think Srila Prabhupada starts with his Anuvritti commentary. So I'll come to what is Anuvritti commentary, and maybe I'll complete that. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, and his father was Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who we have the appearance day coming up soon. So they wrote elaborate commentaries on these verses of Upadeshamrita. So the purport or the explanation of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is called Anuvritti commentary. So from here onwards, it is the Anuvritti commentary of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It recapitulates what Srila Prabhupada wrote, but few other finer nuances are there. So I would request you to do it as a homework, and then we can discuss. In the next class, when we meet, then you can go over the commentary, and if you have questions, then we can discuss as well. So far, so good? Because it is exactly the same with finer nuances. Yeah. All right, with that, I open up questions. Pranav, you had a question, then Krishna, and then we can go online, and then Rishikesh.
Hare Krishna. So yeah, when we were discussing the fact that at least the first verse and the entire, I'm not sure if all the sets of verses are like supposed to be like they're intended for one who is doing Upadesh or a spiritual master. At least the first verse was intended that way. We just wanted to clarify that, like, is it, of course we can take the appropriate sense of it and apply it in our way, but are these verses kind of qualifications of a spiritual master? Should they be taken in that sense? I get the sense that we should also try to inculcate these qualities, but just wanted to...
So the reconciliation to that answer is the spiritual master himself must have followed this to become where he is right now, right? How do you think a spiritual master has come or controlled his 6 urges? By following the instructions of his previous spiritual master, which was the same thing. So it is a verse that has a dual meaning. For one who's achieved success in controlling the 6 urges, for them, or that is the criteria for becoming a spiritual master. And the next one, even for those who want to follow that path, because please understand, a disciple is not going to be a disciple forever. There is a chance that some of the disciples might become spiritual master, correct? So it is applicable to both. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
But you have...
No, yeah, like some of the ideals, like the first was like controlling all the Vegas. Some of them are like too high, at least.
Yeah, it is. There is no doubt.
Yeah, like very ideal goal.
Yeah.
But at the stage where I am, or like the neophyte stage,
keep it closer. Yeah.
Do you think is it like better to have like some kind of intermediate goal? Like keep the ideal goal in mind, like ultimately we want to reach there. But if I try to do that, it's not going to happen and disrupt like family, social, like it's just not going to. So like keeping an intermediate goal, trying to achieve that, and then try to incrementally trying to advance. Is that?
We used to do the IDC course, and we teach them as well you have for those who could not understand the question or who didn't get the question online, Pranav's question is, this seems to be too high and too idealistic. And from those who are starting, how much should we be hardcore in implementing them at the expense of probably disruption? For example, I humorously did mention about going to a team lunch and you mentioning this kind of thing. So the answer I gave in the class probably applies, because if you go to a team lunch at work and then you can, if you are really uncomfortable on eating, then you can always kind of politely decline for some reason, but sooner or later it can become a problem, or you can have some salad, whatever. So the point I'm trying to say is that these standards are pretty high, but this is mainly for spiritual master. And for the spiritual master, at least should be at that level. For others, it can be here at this level. I'm at 1%, 2%. Spiritual master might be at 80, 90%, whatever, or even more. But for the person, I'm 1%, 2%, 3%. So I can go up as well. The goal is that I am here, which doesn't mean that I can be always here. By following the path of the spiritual master, I can be here as well, or become qualified on that level. So, these, especially the urge of genital, is an extremely high goal, high principle. That is something that needs a more a one-to-one conversation for situation, but one has to adjust accordingly. It's not just you at stake, but it can be your partner at stake as well. So there has to be a certain amount of understanding there. You are right. One can be too rigid and cause some sort of disruptions and chaos and things, but so that needs a little more delicate handling, maybe a little more mature guidance from some people who already have been there for a few years might help. Is that helpful? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. But for the spiritual masters who are sannyasis, that's an easy ideal, right? Or it's a given ideal, rather. All right.
Thank you. I had a question on, first I wanted to say thank you for bringing up the point of prashadam and also the belly. I always heard about like the way to control the tongue is through prashadam, but I never really, I found it very insightful when you said proportion controls the belly. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that and get your insights on like how do we control portions, and how does fasting play a role, and how do we make sure that we're eating healthy? Because I think there's also the other side of whenever we're given prashadam, we should honor it without really thinking in some way, as in like it is a big blessing. So how do we regulate the proportion and what we put into our belly?
Thank you. How do we calculate the proportion is quite individual, and it can be, so for example, what makes you full? What makes you satisfied after a meal? There can be a threshold where you are still hungry, and there can be a threshold where I have overeaten. And that quantity defines from person to person. The right amount is where you feel satisfied, you feel nourished, and you feel that you can go about with your business. So that would be the right amount. There is no hard and fast rule. Ayurveda has it. If you want to look into Ayurveda, they say you have to eat if I remember right, I have no qualification on Ayurveda whatsoever, but if I remember right, it is like half of your belly with food, other quarter with water, and other quarter, something like that. It is there. If you want to go really strict like that particular thing, But in general, since we can't calculate the size of our own belly, and belly also expands, because belly is one organ of the body, it will expand as you eat. Of course, there is a limit to what you can eat, but you can. And if you... All right, why not? If you really want to get fascinated by that concept of the flexibility of belly, you can look at the eating competitions that go on across all the countries and how they have their own tips and tricks on what they do. Don't worry. It's not needed. But the point is, because belly is flexible and it's everybody has their own unique thing, there is no hard and fast rule on saying, oh, you have to eat only this much. So it's just a matter of individual choice. That's one thing. The second thing, everything comes as prasadam, and what do I do about it? The general guideline is, you don't have to put everything in your belly, but respect all the prasadam. Because you just, somebody says, this is like prasad from Vrindavan, and it's like, it's delicious. Or you go to a Sunday feast, it's like, there is sabji fried in ghee and then coated with gravy of cashew nuts, and then there is the puri, and then there is the paneer that also has heavy cashew gravy, and then there is a sweet that is made, it's like only fat and sugar, nothing else in that sweet. And you are like, please use judgment. It's okay. You can just offer your obeisances to the prasadam and walk away. Because again, there have been, instances where devotees had to have health problems because they thought it's prasadam and it cannot do anything to me. One of the things that we should be a little bit careful is we still are responsible for what we put in our belly. And if it's prasadam, I'm forced to take it, and I have to, and then the other thing is this, I have to go to programs. Oh, there is a sleepover here, and then there is a later, pizza party here, and then there's a birthday party here. Eat little. Prabhupada used to do that. Like, I have to eat here and they'll feel bad. I have to eat here and they'll feel bad. I'll have to eat here and they'll feel bad. And then for next 3 days, your stomach will feel bad. So you have to balance it out. Right? I mean, you always respect prasadam, but there is no need to eat it. Makes sense? Because Mahaprabhu was, this dilemma happened actually, and I'm giving you scriptural evidence. Like Mahaprabhu was asked that, on Ekadashi, they would still offer khichdi and rice and everything to Lord Jagannath. And then they would come to the devotees saying this is, grains, prasadam, on Ekadashi. And the devotee asked Mahaprabhu, like, what should we do? We cannot eat grains, but it is Mahaprasadam. Then Mahaprabhu said, just offer obeisances to prasadam, because it's not different from Krishna. You respect it, you honor it, but you don't eat it. So our attitude will be always respectful toward prasadam, but whether you eat or not is an individual thing. I'll tell you one last thing. I may be a diabetic, severe diabetic, no sweets allowed. But, it's like, oh, Prabhu, I have come from Vrindavan, here, take this. I have come from Jagannath Puri, take this kaja. And then I have to eat it, otherwise if I eat it, then, my diabetes will flare. Here is a practical concern. Makes sense? Helps? Okay. Rishikesh Prabhu, and then we'll go online if there are any questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I have 2 questions. The first one was on the paragraph that we talk about control in speech. In that, there is one line that Prabhupada's purports that the preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death. And at a lot of other places also we read from Srila Prabhupada about how there are so many people who are using the preaching of Krishna Katha or Krishna Katha as a means of making a living, and we should not hear from them. So how do we reconcile these two ideas, that someone who is preaching Krishna Katha for a living, how is he free from the clutches of death, and what he's writing in this purport?
if you are using Krishna Katha as a means of livelihood, then you are fearing death like anything. To the extent I am willing to do even Krishna Katha for my livelihood. So you can see inherently there is a fear of death. And the other thing is, if you have that mentality, then you will speak whatever is palatable to your sponsors and your audience rather than actually speaking Krishna Katha. How do you define Krishna Katha in that connection? If the sponsor says, hey, avoid all these things from Krishna Katha, this is not going to go well with my friends and audiences, you shouldn't speak that. Then how are you speaking Krishna Katha? So Krishna Katha here really means one who is presenting as it is with no extraneous things. Is that helpful?
Yes, Prabhu.
And the other thing is Avaishnava Mukod Girnam. There is a famous verse written by Rupa Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Avaishnava Mukod Girnam Putam Harikatamritam Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam Sarpochistam Yatapaya. He says that those who are preaching Krishna Katha just for livelihood, it's not a Vaishnava person, it's just an Vaishnava. So, because I can use the AI, chat GPT, or I can do coding for my livelihood, I'm using Krishna Katha for my livelihood. You can see how you are equating that Krishna Katha, which is dynamic, to the coding. The means is the same. The means are different, but the mentality is the same. I am viewing Krishna Katha. If your boss comes and says, for example, I'm still in Java world, now he's gone to that. You just don't do this part of coding because you can't do this. And you're saying you can't speak with this Krishna Katha here. It's exactly the same. You are making something dynamic, Krishna Katha, into Jada. Because they are, how is it? So they're Avaishnava Mukod Girnam. So the Krishna, so-called Krishna Katha coming from these people, Sanatana Goswami says, don't even hear. Why? Because milk is pure, but when touched by the lips of the serpent, or even, I'll give a grosser example. Will you drink a milk that has cockroach lying in it? And there we go. It's the exact same thing. Sorry for giving such a gross example, but anyways, you get the idea.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Anything online? Yeah. One more question. All right.
The second paragraph that we read about the urges of the tongue and how we should accept prasadam always. In terms of quality of prasadam, like you explained, how we have to honor it. I was thinking on a different angle. Like Prabhupada writes that a devotee accepts prasadam and that's how he purifies himself. But even in that, we can sometimes become very picky about prasadam, especially when we are the one who are controlling what is being cooked and offered to the Lord. So how does that help in controlling the urges of the tongue? Because like I'm buying my groceries, so I'm making sure what I want to eat, I'm going to end up buying those things only, or what I can cook well.
So you are better than ordinary. An ordinary person says, today I have to eat this. But then the next question comes is, which restaurant makes this the best? I'll give a concrete example. I feel like eating chola bhatura. So in an ordinary sense, you'll be like, okay, which is the best place to go to eat chola bhatura? And then you will go. But yours says, no, I have to eat chola bhatura. I want to eat chola bhatura, but at least I want to offer it to Krishna first. There is going to the market, soaking the chana previously, making the dough, putting the baking soda and all those things to make the dough soft. Initially, it is okay to kind of think like that, but eventually you are going to offer it to the Lord. And at the time of offering to the Lord, at least even though your consciousness was, I was preparing for myself, but when it goes to offer to the Lord, please accept it. Krishna is still okay with that. In the beginning stages, one shouldn't beat up too much if one is able to not kind of be on that level yet. It's okay. It's better than ordinary. But when you go advance in spiritual life, then the only reason why you are offering food to Krishna is because Krishna wants it. That the advanced devotee says, I'm not hungry. In fact, Raghunath Das Goswami, every day he would just take palmful of buttermilk every day or every other day or 3 days. That's what he would have. He basically had no hunger. So in that, advanced devotee, he will say that I don't have hunger, I don't want to cook, but Krishna is hungry. Let me cook for him. I don't care what I eat or not eat. It will take time to come to that level, and it's okay. So one of the things is, when we are in the beginning stage and we beat up too much saying that why am I not at that stage, then there could be a lack of confidence, a lack of enthusiasm, most importantly, lack of enthusiasm. And we will come to the third verse where Rupa Goswami says, no, that is not the way to go. Is that helpful? Because your sadhana practices have to also make sure your enthusiasm is online. I can beat up to the, oh my God, everybody is doing so much better, sir. Everybody is able to chant mantras better, remember better. Everybody. You are also doing it. You are also a part of it. I may be on my own level, but that doesn't discount me of what devotional practices I am doing that is going to be pleasing to Bhagavan also. So there is that aspect of it. So it has to be a combination of both. Neither can be like too complacency. At the same time, to the beating up, everything I do is useless. Then you can get the idea, right? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll do verse number 2. Because we are... Please, you can sit on a chair, you can sit on the floor, wherever you want to. All right. We'll do verse number 2. Because I wanted to do 3 verses. We have 45 minutes. So you know what? We'll do one thing. We'll take a break. Take a break for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Stretch. You know, if you are like Dhruva Maharaj, drink some air outside or water, whatever you feel like. And then we'll come back in 3 minutes. Is that okay? Online, Prabhu's, Mataji's, is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Prabhu.
Yeah,
Yes,
you can just
Prabhu.
stretch your legs
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you,
or
Prabhu.
cook a whole Sunday feast and then come back, whatever you feel like. In 3 minutes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. We can start. We can do text number 2. Kindly repeat after me. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyam cha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Translation, please, online.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Four, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So, Rupa Goswami in the next, the first verse was, of course, for the spiritual master, but also for us as well on how to reach that position. The second, third, and the fourth verses are mainly for the sadhakas or those who are practicing bhakti. So there are 6 items that cause one to falter on one's path, and these are the 6 items. So please continue with the first paragraph. The reason why, again, Srila Prabhupada doesn't start off directly with those 6 items, but gives a background on why. So we can do that first paragraph, then we can continue. Online, who didn't get a chance to read, please do the first paragraph.
I can read.
Okay.
I'll go, bro. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has 3 primary energies or potencies. The first is called Antaranga Shakti, or the internal potency. The second is called Tathastha Shakti, or the marginal potency. The third is called Bahiranga Shakti, or the external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency, and they are situated between the internal and external potencies. Being subordinate as eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godheads, the Jivatmas or atomic living entities must remain under the control of either the internal or external potency. When they are under the control of the internal potency, they display their natural constitutional activity, namely constant engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:13.
Mahatmanam stumam partha Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakritimashritah Bhajantyananya manaso Jnatva bhutadim avyayam.
O son of Partha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature, they are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible.
Thank you, Anukha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So here, the living entity or jiva is described as Tatastha Shakti. There are three potencies of Krishna, which is the internal potency, the external potency, and the marginal potency. The jiva atma is described as Tatastha or marginal. Marginal means on the margins, which means on the fence. The jiva can go to the external or the jiva can go into the internal. But when you are in the external, then you are forced to maintain yourself. In this material world, Krishna mentions in Gita that you cannot not act. You are forced to act, and you are forced to act helplessly. How are you forced to act? Usually it is because of your previous impressions, your previous inclinations, and your previous proclivities. They used to act. And one of the things that we have to understand, or the secret of success in spiritual life, is know how to live in the material world. And the answer to that question is we have to live to see that we can sustain comfortably. And we'll come to that point a little bit more. We will skip the next few. Let's go to according to the nature's arrangement. That starts with Atyahara.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Can I read?
Please do.
Thank you. According to nature's arrangement, living entities lower on the evolutionary cycle scale do not eat or collect more than necessary. Consequently, in the animal kingdom, there is generally no economic problem or scarcity of necessities. If a bag of rice is placed in a public place, birds will come to eat a few grains and go away. A human being, however, will take away the whole bag. He will eat all his stomach can hold and then try to keep the rest in storage. According to scriptures, this collecting of more than necessary, atyahara, is prohibited. Now the entire world is suffering because of it.
So, in Sanskrit, the word, I'll give a chance, maybe it's those who knows, what is atya ahara means? Ati ahara means eating too much. Eating too much. Too much, yeah. Ahara means to eat or food, and ati means too much.
Too much.
But please understand that Rupa Goswami is he's a genius with words. Some of his compositions are, you can't even think of in this world. For those who really are interested in what I'm talking about, there is a Rupa Chitravani or something like that. There is a book that shows some genius of Rupa Goswami. He's composed verses using one syllable. It's only 2 syllables he's composed. Only 2. And it is not like he has, you have 2 syllables to compose. Yeah, the meaning, whatever meaning comes doesn't matter. I need to fit everything into 2. No, the meaning was so beautiful. It was amazing. Shall I tell one verse? So here, the scene is that Krishna is holding Govardhan hill on his pinky finger, as we know the story of Indra's inundation of Vraja. And then Radha, she's looking at the beautiful face of Krishna with unblinking eyes, completely meditating on him. And that shloka, Rupa Goswami composed using the only syllables Ra and Dha. That's it, the whole shloka. And it goes something like this. Dhare dhara dhara dharam dhara duradura rudhi Dhira dhira radhadi rodham radhadhuram dharam. Dhare dhara dhara dharam dhara dhara durarudhi. Dhira dhira radhadi rodham radhadhuram dharam. So he composed the whole thing just in two syllables. Now the question will come is, if you are giving me 11 instructions or 11 verses encapsulating all the instructions, you will be very careful with words, as in you won't repeat the words, correct? We already discussed at length the control of tongue and belly. Why does the atihara, again overeating comes? So the acharyas say atyahara here doesn't mean overeating, but over collecting. One should collect what is needed for one's existence. This is where the tricky part comes, because it needs some unpacking. It depends on your status, your ashrama. If you are a sannyasi, any form of collecting is not allowed. In fact, Bhagavatam mentions, how much food a sannyasi is allowed to collect. And the answer is that which can fit into his belly. That's it. You eat, the sannyasi is so dependent on Krishna, they didn't even think of leftovers for dinner. There is no concept for sannyasi. For sannyasi says, I completely depend on Krishna. I eat now whatever I can fill in my belly, and then when evening comes or tomorrow comes, it is Krishna who will feed me. So Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita that if you don't have that kind of faith and fearlessness, then maybe sannyas is not for you. So for sannyasi, any sort of collecting is not allowed. But if you're a householder, you cannot be thinking like sannyasi. Like, we cook today, there is nothing at home. Okay, tomorrow whatever will come. No. You have to collect. So, but householder cannot collect excessively, to the point that how excessive is something, again, it's relative. It's a dependent situation. The principle is atyahara, but the application is individual. I'll give a simple example. You shouldn't over-collect. But the thing is, if a person has a large family, then you may have to over-collect. Or compared to what others who are single, perhaps. I choose to stay single throughout my life. I don't want to get married. Then I don't need millions and trillions of dollars. That is over-collecting. But if you are, millions, we'll keep it. But if you are having a large family, then you may need to maintain. So idea is, how do we maintain? And then who's maintaining and how much is. So you can see how this kind of changes. Is that helpful? Yeah. So, but the general principle for everybody is that you don't over-collect. Okay, we'll do a few more and then we'll come. Next paragraph, please, online.
Guruji, can I read?
Yes, please.
Thank you. According to nature's arrangement,
next paragraph, Mata, collecting.
Sorry.
No problem.
Collecting and eating more than necessary also causes prayasa or unnecessary endeavor. By God's arrangement, anyone in any part of the world can live very peacefully if he has some land and a milk cow. There's no need for man to move from one place to another to earn a livelihood, for one can produce food grains locally and get milk from cows. That can solve all economic problems. Fortunately, man has been given higher intelligence for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness or the understanding of God, one's relationship with Him, and the ultimate goal of life, love of God. Unfortunately, so-called civilized man, not caring for God realization, utilizes his intelligence to get more than necessary and simply eats to satisfy the tongue. By God's arrangement, there is sufficient scope for the production of milk and grains for human beings all over the world. But instead of using their higher intelligence to cultivate God consciousness, so called intelligent men misuse their intelligence to produce many unnecessary and unwanted things. Thus, factories, slaughterhouses, brothels, and liquor shops are opened. If people are advised not to collect too many goods, eat too much, or work unnecessarily to possess artificial amenities, they think they are being advised to return to a primitive way of life. Generally, people do not like to accept plain living and high thinking. That is their unfortunate position.
So obviously, if you want to over collect, you have to endeavor more, correct? But here, again, when we read all these things, it is a gradual transition. Just because you're out of college, that's what your parents have sent to, and then you read this and say, no, 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 give up everything and go live on the land. You might want to have a little bit more careful guidance before you do such a radical action as well. It's a fact that I have seen so many software professionals, I've been in this industry for a while, that if they get a chance, they'll say, I want to return back to nature. Because working on computers all day long, every day long for many years, people are like done. I'll be happy to go back to nature and have nothing to do with computers. And while that could be your goal and you should pursue it according to Prabhupada's instructions, but care should be taken to see that it is an organic and a natural transition rather than a radical and an artificial one. That kind of causes, some angst. Besides, please understand, you may be a software engineer or give up everything and have your own farm. The idea is that how do I do bhakti? Oh, I have to do this, and then I don't have time for chanting because I have to take care of so many things on the farm. Then you can see how, this can be somewhat of a counterproductive move, I would say. So one should ideally, this is what it is. And the other thing about farms is that you need a worldwide support for that. So for example, I may have a farm and I have cows, and it costs me more to produce than buying milk at Walmart or Safeway, and nobody will come and buy with me, so I'll shrivel. So you can see how you need a broader support also. And the ISKCON had its challenges with farm communities. So just wanted to add that as well. One should aspire to live on land and cows, but the transition should be gradual. And the other thing is, I'm not born into that, so I may need to have some work. So far, so good. All right. We'll do a few more verses and we'll take questions. Looks like we'll do only 2 verses today. That's okay. It's fine. We need discussion rather than rushing through. Because if it is rushing through, then we don't need to have classes. Good news. You can say, hey, read this, have the exam, go, pass. The very fact that we come and discuss, the very fact that we come and go back and forth on these, that makes teaching really palatable and powerful. And the idea is not to just remember and cram your brain with this information, but to live with it. And when we discuss in the like-minded situation, then you know the practical ways to live with it. Otherwise, you can read on your own and then you say, no, I'll give up my software job and go live in the farm. That's it. This is what it is. So, Prabhupada's words are never wrong. He's an acharya. But the implementation is more individual. That's the point I'm trying to make. Next paragraph, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Human life is meant for God realization, and the human being is given higher intelligence for this purpose. Those who believe that this higher intelligence is meant to attain a higher state should follow the instructions of the Vedic literatures. By taking such instructions from higher authorities, one can actually become situated in perfect knowledge and give real meaning to life.
Thank you, Mataji. We will go to, so we did Atyahara, we did Prayasa. So let's go to Prabhu. Another impediment is, if you come down a little bit. Another impediment. Yes. Online, please, those who get a chance to read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I read? Another impediment is prajalpa, unnecessary talking. When we mix with a few friends, we immediately begin unnecessary talking, sounding just like croaking toads. If we must talk, we should talk about the Krishna consciousness movement. Those outside of the Krishna consciousness movement are interested in reading heaps of newspapers, magazines, and novels, solving crossword puzzles, and doing many other nonsensical things. In this passion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy. In the Western countries, old men, retired from active life, play cards, fish, watch television, and debate about useless socio-political themes. All these and other frivolous activities are included in the Prajalpa category. Intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities.
Thank you. Again, it'll come gradually over a period of time. One should cultivate Krishna. The whole point is, how can I cultivate my attachment to Krishna to increase more? Then these activities kind of become less important in my life. That would be the goal. You abruptly changing might not help. You try. If it can work, it can work. There is no harm if in case it doesn't work. But try your best. Is that helpful? We'll do one more, and then we'll take. No, one more. We'll do one more.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Jana Sangha refers to associating with persons not interested in Krishna consciousness. One should strictly avoid such association. Srila Narottam Das Thakura has therefore advised us to live only in the association of Krishna conscious devotees. One should always engage in the service of the Lord in the association of Lord's devotees. Association with those engaged in a similar line of business is very conducive to advancement in that business. Consequently, materialistic persons from various associations and clubs to enhance their endeavors. For example, in the business world, we find such institutions as the Stock Exchange and Chamber of Commerce. Similarly, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to give people an opportunity to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna. This spiritual association offered by our ISKCON movement is increasing day by day. Many people from different parts of the world are joining this society to awaken their dormant Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. That is Jana Sangha. So it is Atyahara, Prayasa, Laulyam, Jana Sangha. What else? Prajalpa, one more. Oh, we'll come to that. So we'll do Laulyam. I'm just going over, so we'll cover all the topics, and then we get the gist of the verse, and then you can go back home and you can go through each of the paragraphs. It's good? Yeah. I wish, as I said, I wish I had the time to cover every single thing, like we do. I do in Bhakti Vriksha. We go over Sudama, we go whole. It's fun. One thing where we can do is desires to expand. Please, Prabhu, desires to expand. Somebody online, please read that.
Prabhu, can I read, Prabhu?
Yes, please. Vaibhav.
Yeah. Desire to expand the mind by perfecting mystic yoga to merge into the existence of Brahman, or to attain whimsical material prosperity are all included within the category of greed, lavlya. All attempt to acquire such material benefits or so-called spiritual advancement are impediments on the path of Krishna consciousness. Modern
I think
Shall
that's it. That's it.
Okay.
So, laulyam is defined as the restlessness caused by the mind when it contemplates on the objects of senses. When you think of something and the mind gets agitated and longs for it. Dhyayato vishyan pumsaha sangastes upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho. So that deep attachment and the mind that gets restless when it is in contact or contemplating for something which is outside of service of Krishna. Laulyam can actually be used internally for service of Krishna and externally. Because Rupa Goswami writes the word that you need laulyam to attain Krishna, and that's the only ticket. The word laulyam is used there and the laulyam is used here. But the context is entirely different. Because same Rupa Goswami who says, no, avoid laulyam, he says, get laulyam. Can we bring Prabhupada shloka and somebody look up that particular verse? Anchita, you can go. Yeah, you can give me that. It's there in Rupa Goswami's. I'll pull up that laulyam. The last here. Yeah, Prabhupada shlokas. Nita, you can go help. Yes, thank you. No, it's fine. I think it should be fine. Yeah, you can give it to Nita. Thank you. Grazie. I don't think it's... Koti Janma Labhyate. I don't know if it is there in Prabhupada's book. It should be there. I look up that verse. I don't remember on top of my head. If somebody remembers it, let me know, but I don't remember on top of my head. So where Rupa Goswami says the only price to attain Krishna's kingdom is one's greed or laulyam, that laulyam is different from this laulyam. Helpful? Because prema and kama seem same, but prema is different than kama. So, all right. Janasangascha laulyamcha. And then we do niyama agraha. The last one is niyama agraha. I'll explain niyama agraha. And then, so if you go back to the verse, Prabhu, niyama agraha, go back to the translation. Thank you. Word to word. If you go to word, thank you. So here you can see niyama. What is the translation for niyama? What is agraha? So here niyama agraha can be broken into two things. Niyama is straight, which is rules and regulations. Agraha means to neglect. Agraha means to accept. So these two folds niyamagraha, let's go step by step. Agraha means to neglect the rules, and that is pretty easy. If a person says, I've taken a vow to chant 16 rounds, and then you neglect it, that is a problem. If certain activities are not to be done, you do it, and then it is a problem. Yes or yes? So that neglect is there. That is little straightforward. Everybody understands? Makes sense? But what is agraha or too much attachment? That is where we need to discuss. Because why is it wrong to have too much attachment to the rules? Make sense? I mean, so nice. So there are a couple of ways to think about it. The niyama agraha means when you say I am attached to the rules, you are attached to the rules only for being attached to the rules. I will give a simple example. If one is doing, for example, service or puja every day to Bhagavan, I have to do puja, and then you are so attached to it, to the point like at one point you don't know why we are doing it, or there is no means of tangible advancement in doing it. But I still have to do it. That is one way of looking at things. The other way of looking at things is when you advance in spiritual life, what rules are needed for those who are on the beginner need not be needed at the advanced stage. I'll give an example. How many rounds of Hare Krishna mantra do gopis chant? It is needed for us, but not for the gopis of Vrindavan who are already on there. So attachment to the rules when you have advanced, that is Rupa Goswami saying no. Because we are on the path of Raganuga Bhakti, the sadhana or the rules are needed to help us advance. But once we are advanced, those rules we need not kind of hold on to that rules. But there are certain universal rules that are still in place. For example, bhakti to Krishna, it doesn't change whether you are advanced, chanting the names of Krishna. It is just the way you chant changes. In the beginning stages, it's like, it's such a difficulty to chant. It's an austerity to chant. But because I have to do it, I've taken a vow, I'll do it, and that attachment is good. But when in the advanced stage, you still are chanting the names of Krishna, but it's in a very spontaneous way. And the other way is attachment to the rules of the advanced people. When you are not advanced, that's another problem. Haridas Thakur used to chant how many rounds? 192 rounds every single day. Oh, I want to chant 192. I'm too attached. Baba, you are not there at that stage. Your stage is 16. Just follow. Or, your health is not good, but I want to do Nirjala Ekadashi. Yes. No, you just have to. So you can see how blind attachment for the sake of attachment is a problem, and blindly and willfully neglecting the rules is a problem. So niyama agraha is a problem, niyama agraha is a problem. So that's why it is mentioned, goes back to the first verse, where it is mentioned, if you are able to have the guidance of a spiritual master, then it becomes a little more easier to kind of handle this, right? So I think we will do 2 verses, preface. We did preface, text 1 and text 2. And next class we'll do verse 3, 4, and probably 5. We might have to have an extra class, but that's okay. There are total 11 verses. In the next class, we will recite all the 11 verses. I'll give the layout of the 11 verses as well, which I wanted to do in this class, but we'll do it in the next class. Helpful? Questions, comments, concerns? Anything on? We'll start with online, because any questions online before we go to the live audience. Krishna Varnam Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dharma Pranam. Prabhuji, I have 2 questions. One is on Atyahar and one is on Prajalpa. So first question is, so when we say about Atyahar, you mentioned like we should only collect what is required for maintenance. But there could be the different threshold for my maintenance. Probably I'm not even satisfied with $1 million salary in my job. And how do we balance that with ambition as well?
So, it's nice. So that question is beautiful because it addresses 2 things, Atyahara and Prayas. Because ambition is Prayas. You cannot say that this is what my boss says at work, that if you are here sitting for 4 years doing the same thing, then don't expect a promotion. Because you're doing your job. You need to show more to get promotion. And which means you have to put in more effort, which is prayas. So the question brings is, how much prayas is going to be there till it hits my sadhana and spiritual practices? Am I willing to give up that spiritual practices for my ambition, or where do I draw the line? It's more of an individual person's choice that has to be accounted for. I wouldn't say blindly just, crush and just grind your ambition to pieces and throw it away. But your mind in the long run will be still, that gnawing thought will be there. So you need to make sure that both aspects are taken care of. And there is a balance between your spiritual practices versus your ambition. That is one thing. Second thing, for over-collecting, it all depends, as I mentioned earlier, on your situation. Previously, people, we have a retirement problem or a retirement concern that everybody has. So how much do you need to retire? It all depends. Let's take retirement as an example. It all depends on where you are going to retire. If you are going to retire in a highly expensive place, you need more. If you are going to retire in a low expensive place, you don't need less. So it all depends on the multiple factors. But somebody's retirement fund may be more compared to others. That is not over-collecting. It's just situational. That is one thing. And the second thing would be your health. Let's take the example of your health. For a person who is healthy, you might not need so much money, but for a person whose health issues are there, you may have to collect more. So it all depends on that particular point of time. I answered the ambition question. I answered the atyahara question as well. Hopefully, is that okay, Krishna Varna Prabhu? Please go more, yes, in case you are not satisfied.
Actually, yeah, I got a gist, but on my personal situation, probably I'll connect with you one-on-one, and then we can discuss more on that. Probably.
Sorry, I didn't catch you. My apologies.
So what I'm saying, yes, I got the gist about it, but to talk specifically my personal situation, probably I'll connect with you.
Yes, yeah, because all of these situations are more tied to personal rather than generic. We can talk generic. Over collecting is bad. But then how do you define what is over-collecting and when does it become bad? It's a very individual. So yes, you're so right in pointing that out.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Then, Prabhuji, the second question is on Prajalpa. So you said we shouldn't be indulging in the Prajalpa with materialistic people, which once we get into the spiritual circle, that reduces automatically. But then it brings up the Prajalpa within devotees. So how do we prevent that without offending them?
That's a hard problem to solve. And the reason I say is this. On one hand, you should not associate with non-devotees. But since we are not on the level where our talks are only about Krishna, there has to be a via medium. I'll give a simple example. If you have birthday parties or baby showers or housewarming, strictly speaking, those are not quote-unquote Krishna conscious, but yet we are part of a society and we like to have company and so on and so forth, and we would prefer company of devotees rather than some non-devotee friends, and it's natural. And you can't expect 24/7 to talk of Krishna Katha, so there can be some prajalpa. The idea is that we need to kind of balance out. I'll give a simple example. You have a small child and you go on a play date, and two parents come together for a play date for their children. They might talk about, for example, raising kids and how to raise kids and the problems of they are experiencing. Sometimes that can be Krishna Katha, sometimes it can be Prajalpa based on what is the angle of it. We try to minimize as much as we can till the point where our tongue becomes so used to Krishna Katha that it says, no, I don't want to talk anything else. It's okay. We'll just pick up Bhagavatam and read. Even amongst devotees as well, you should have a circle that is a little bit more liberal in terms of Krishna Katha, but also have a strong circle that is with Krishna Katha. So that is a counter to kind of do that. And every program you have, ideally there should be a little bit of kirtan, a little bit of prasad and katha. And then, it's understandable that 100% is not Krishna Katha, because there is a need for having a society and friendship. And if it is within the circle of devotees, then, there can be might be better like that rather than seek out elsewhere. The danger is that I had one devotee mentioned to me many, many years ago, saying that I have so many friends in the temple or people I know, but when I have to talk to my personal problems, I reach out my third-class friend. So you can see how it is. The society of devotees itself can kind of, you better have some strong circle in the devotee itself than reach out to your third-class friend. Third-class friend means not first class, second class, third class. They're literally third grade friends. Let's put it that way. They were in the same school together. Third class. So you can get the idea. You get the idea, right, Krishna Varna Prabhu? Yes, so I say it's a harder problem to solve because of the need of social connection among spiritual circle. So, the title should be how to have a spiritual connection among social circle, and spell it out how to have social connection among spiritual circle. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And in this country, because you are away from your family, away from everything, you just feel the need to have a kind of, homegrown thing. So, yeah. But as much as possible. And one last thing is one's sadhana should be strong, so that at least there is Krishna Katha always in one's day, one way or other. So then you can counteract as well. So, and the last point is, even in the spiritual circle, you have a right to choose where you get inspired in Krishna consciousness. That's the most important thing. So you just, yeah. Is that helpful? Krishna?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. All right. Any more questions online, offline? All right.
Prabhuji, I just have one question.
Regarding your name, Mataji, I can't see it.
My name is Anshu.
Anshu Mataji, Hare Krishna. Oh, Anshu Chotani.
Yeah.
Yes, Anshu Mataji, Hare Krishna. Now I'm able to see your face.
Krishna. Okay. Prabhuji, I just had one question regarding Prajalpa. So, like at office, talking to colleagues about, in order to kind of build that trust in the team, talking about the general topics, is it also Prajalpa, or like how do we kind of understand that thing?
Prabhupada writes in the purport that one is forced to work to maintain one's body, and forced to maintain, to work one's body is sometimes you might have to talk of topics that are not related to Krishna, but they are indirectly in relation to Krishna, because you need to maintain that employment to maintain your body. And a part of that is you're obliged to kind of speak not Krishna Katha. I'll give an example. Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami were employed by Nawab Hussain Shah. I wouldn't imagine that their daily duties involved Krishna Katha in the court. They had to talk of tax collections, they have to talk of enemies who are attacking the state, they have to talk of expansions, and then you have to, and Nawab and Sanatan Goswami was supposed to be an expert diplomat. He had to deal with all sorts of people. I wouldn't be wondering that they were having Krishna Katha 24/7 at that point of time. So, till you are retired and fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, your words, your time, your effort is not your own, because they also belong to the people who are paying you. So you have to have that kind of balance to make sure. The only thing I would advise is this. Revealing the heart and speaking in confidence should be done only with devotees, not with outsiders. It might be tempting, but the problem is if you do it with outsiders, it is not necessarily they are evil, they may be your well-wisher, but the advice is based on their conditioned state of existence, which might not be good for you. For example, a person who goes to happy hour every Friday or every day to forget their worries, and you go and say, I am worried about this particular problem, what would be their natural response? Please. Yeah, exactly. Join me in the happy hour.
Happy hour.
Yeah, exactly. You'll forget your problems. And they are not necessarily malevolent or evil, but that is their limit of knowing spirituality and forgetting their problems. Not knowing that our whole human life is to overcome these problems once for all, rather than forgetting the problem. So to share your heart, to share your intimate questions or issues of life, it's better to keep it for the devotees, and do whatever you need to do to keep the employment job and harmony at workplace, whatever be it, going within certain limits as well. I mean, I can go and talk to be in the crowd that is, for example, smoking cigarettes. You might not want to kind of join that. So have your own boundaries, but at the same time, do what is needed. Is that helpful, Anshu Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. If there are no other questions, it's 11:40, 10 minutes over time. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for joining. Supriya Kumari Mataji, you had a question about the homework?
Yes, Prabhuji. As I told you, for the invocation number 2, that was a little bit of confused, but can you please explain, Prabhuji?
Okay, I did see that. If you can send, so here is the one. While doing a first assignment, I am a little bit confused of ESO invocation verse 2. From where can I get these details? Mata, I don't remember the question. Please tell me the question.
Invocation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I mean, the explanation of something was there, like from invocation 2 or something. I was a little bit confused, but I was thinking, I have wrote it, but
Okay.
I don't know if it was right or wrong.
No, you can just send it to me. We can discuss in the class. Or I can find out. I'll talk to you offline,
Okay,
and
Prabhu.
then I can put it in the Bhakti Shastri WhatsApp group as
Thank
well.
you, Prabhu.
All right. Thank you, Mataji. Any other points? All right. I'm so grateful to all of you for joining this course, for reading Srila Prabhupada's books, for taking out time, your interest, your inclination. And I know for a fact that Prabhupada's words and purports are timeless and precious. And you might say, hey, you are a Prabhupada guy, that's what you're saying. But if you see the living proof, after he left, millions of people are inspired by his words. The Bhagavad Gita, if you see Bhagavad Gita anywhere, it's Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, because the power or the potency of his words has inspired millions across this world, and it is inspiring millions. He is special. He's truly an empowered incarnation of Krishna, or empowered representative of Krishna. Sorry, I wanted to correct that. Empowered representative of Krishna. So I'm so grateful that you're reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And if you can keep that habit, then you will be a lifelong seeker of Krishna, and you'll have full enthusiasm. Your mind is at ease with regards to various doubts that come up. Once in a while they come up, and the whole idea is, how can we be lifelong devotees of Krishna, or how can we not give up this path at any time, irrespective of what comes in life. So that is the goal of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. If you have any suggestions, any questions, any comments, or any feedback, or any room for improvement, please to send it to me. We will take it very really seriously. You can send it to me or Shamalangi or anyone else, and then we can take it further. Is that okay? Yeah. With that, I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you so very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
very much,
Krishna
Prabhuji.
Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.